Hi, my name is Apurva. I'm with Civitas as a student journalist in the Examiner, and I'm here with Rosetta Okohson, who is our feature today. Rosetta started Meyers Okohson Political Consulting. Rosetta, can you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, no, happy to do so. Apurva, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me about my work. Rosetta Okohson, she, her, hers. I have been a lifelong enthusiast of just showing up in community. I was raised by two very independent women, my mother and my grandmother, who have never balked at any opportunity to show up in the community. My grandmother worked on campaigns and was engaged in the political scene very early. I was the kind of kid that didn't get to do soccer practice on Saturdays because we were out knocking doors for a candidate. So just super excited. Our firm has been around for almost 9 years. We've got a 60 wins to 12 loss record, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And just really enjoy the building of the relationships with the people that are in our community, and with the folks that come through and do internships, fellowships, the candidates that we work with. We are mission driven, which is rare for most consulting firms. People are usually trying to make a buck. We live in a capitalist society, so we didn't choose capitalism, but capitalism chose us. And so we just try to find people that share our values, that believe that Black Lives Matter, that believe in a woman's right to choose, that believes that you should be able to love whoever you want to love, and believe that you should be able to earn a living wage. So, with those 4 core values at this firm, we have led the way in making sure that progressives and first-time candidates have strong teams. We love talking to people. We refer to ourselves as professional canvassers, and we can't wait to keep fighting for what's right in the state of Missouri.
I know the hot topic right now is Tishaura Jones. She was the last election you did.
Yeah.
And she sparked a lot of controversy. What do you think went well with that campaign?
Yeah.
What do you think didn't go so well? And if you could do it all again, what would you do differently?
Yeah, Tishaura being a client is always just a grounding spot for me. Tishaura was my very first client that we ever took before the paperwork for Mo Political even existed. Tishaura was my client. I negotiated my first contract in my 1-bedroom apartment. Almost 10 years ago, which feels wild to say out loud.
Was this for her?
This was for her treasurer's race. Yeah, so her treasurer's race. So Tishaura and I have been working together on her campaigns since 2015. And so this race ending the way that it did was, certainly bittersweet. I stand by, Mayor Jones and the work that she showed up for this community in, and even watching her continue to work during the middle of this tornado response, even though she doesn't have the title, is like exactly why I said yes 9 years ago. I think 2 things. I think people are very critical of anyone that's in an elected role. I think it's really hard to maintain being in office longevity wise anymore. I think people feel like change needs to happen at the clip of a Facebook like. And that's not real. Government does not move that fast. It never has. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't move faster, because I do believe that it could be more efficient. But I do think that there is a lack of lack of understanding, but also lack of expectation of like, what does this office actually do? What is this office actually in charge of? What do they actually control? And who are the barriers or other steps that come in to be able to do that? And if you ask the average person, they have no idea. They have no idea who's in charge of what. They have no idea what part of what ward they live in. Most people have no idea who their elected officials are, and they have no idea what the job title is. And I think if I could do it all again, I would have advocated for more one-on-one time. And I don't know where we would have fit that in her schedule, because her schedule was very busy. I think people needed to see her more in these different smaller spaces, but I think we would have had to know where those places were. If I could do it again, that's the one thing that I would do. But I don't have any regrets for the race, because we said the quiet part out loud. We learned that people weren't sure why they were voting for the other person, which I think is wild, to show up to the polls and make a decision and not know why. And also, we just have so many people that don't care enough to show up and vote. We had less than 20% of the city show up to vote for the person that is going to lead us for the next 4 years locally. That's wild. So I think people feel disheartened and don't feel interested, and that's always just a tough thing, is remembering to show up and remembering not to be so unforgiving about what regular people don't know. right? I live and breathe. This is my job to do this. Regular people are trying to put food on the table. They're trying to make sure that their kids get to school and that they're safe. They're trying to maybe get one vacation a year. They're trying to make sure that the gas tank is full, right? So adding in politics to that and how it affects them is sometimes a really difficult thing to conceptualize.
Exactly. I've been talking to a lot of people about like the straw that broke the camel's back. Tishaura, that there was like the deep freeze, the inability to pave roads in a timely manner, not getting picked up. Were you always optimistic, or was there like a moment where you realized that this was not going to be a winning race? Because the margin was pretty large.
Yeah, I think we knew this was always going to be a challenging race. I think after Cori Bush's race and how comfortable people who were saying some pretty bigoted and racist things became the normal narrative, and everybody was okay to repeat it. I think I knew this is about to be a race, and we're gonna have to work for it, and we would have to do everything perfect the entire time in order to even have a fair shot at whatever's gonna happen here. I think the snowstorm compounded things. I think people don't realize that the alderperson is supposed to be the first line of response. The alderperson is supposed to be the person on the ground. Just like when we canvass and we're knocking for someone else, we are the people that are on the ground. The alderperson is supposed to translate, hey, this is where we need to go because this is an issue. And I think so many of those alder people were new that they didn't even know that that was their job. The turnover for the number of aldermen and how many of them were new or spots that were open is pretty high. I think also we never clear the side streets in the city of St. Louis. And if you live in the city of St. Louis, you know your side street is not going to get cleared. You know, when my husband and I decided to buy a house, we like purposely moved on a snow route because I knew whatever my job was going to be related to whatever was happening here, and I need to be able to get out because I got to get to work. I live on a snow route, but not everybody's going to be able to do that, right? That's not realistic. But I think asking the city to come through and clear ice on the side streets where people park on both sides is not only unrealistic, it's also never been done. And as our weather patterns continue to change and people deny that we're in the middle of climate change, we are going to have to adjust for that. We're going to have to decide if the city can really respond in that way. Most of our city government in St. Louis is reactive. It's not proactive. And that has always been the case because our resources and people are limited. So it's too difficult for us to plan that far in advance. And we knew the storm was going to be an issue. I don't think anybody knew at that magnitude, but I think that happening in the middle of this race and people looking for an easy opportunity to point to and blame something on city government that had never been done created the perfect storm for the outcome of this race.
Well, now let's shift gears into what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
So you're working with Action St. Louis to help in tornado relief in North City. What does that mean to you, and what are you doing right now?
Yeah, so this has been a wild, fun journey. You know, I'll be honest, my original plan for summer of 2025, knowing that we were coming out of a very brutal 2024 busy presidential election, rolling right into a mayor's race, was to take it easy this summer. My team has been stretched, and I have asked a lot of them. You know, we commit to giving 110% to all of our candidates at all times, and that's not sustainable. We got to take a rest. So our role really was to okay, let's figure out how we take a little bit of time back, how we remember to go home on time. We all have families. Half of us are married. You know, I'm pregnant. We are literally, other people that exist outside of our work job titles here. So the tornado response relief, not on my bingo card for 2025, but here we are.
On anybody's.
So, I think two things: knowing how slow government works and what the turnaround time looked like was a concern of ours, and also realizing that the most vulnerable people in our city who've never had people show up for them, were the ones that were affected the most in this race. Those being mostly black people, brown and black people that live in St. Louis. Obviously we had to show up. And so jumping right in, Action St. Louis and Further Culture stood up a hub at the YMCA out at O'Fallon Park, which was amazing. We were granted space there and able to, serve more than 5,000 people and have more than 15,000 volunteers come through in the time that we've been doing this, which is amazing. Our team obviously pivoted to that and rolled in and helped create some infrastructure that will be long withstanding. Let's create some shifts and get some volunteers in here. Let's make sure we reach out to folks that we know that might be able to feed folks. Let's figure out where we can source donations. Let's figure out how we can get to the people that can't get to us, right?
Sounds like you've been really becoming a backbone so that they can be sustainable.
Yeah, we want them to be long-term, and we also want to be mindful of burnout. Like, this is not only traumatic, but it is exhausting work. And, I would, if you'd asked me in early May if we were a tornado response recovery team, I'd have been like, no. Today, I will tell you yes. We are professional canvassers. And so that means, filling out, we've got a survey where we're collecting information so we can make sure we're connecting people to the resources that they need. And we've been able, to do that. I think yesterday was day 13 of the number of days that we've been canvassing directly in affected areas. We've officially almost made it through our very first pass of the affected area that's on the north side, which was our goal, to be able to do that. And that's hitting, between 400 and 500 doors a day, which is wild. Nobody else can put up those numbers. This is what we do best. So FEMA is on the ground now, which is really exciting. So hopefully people can get some of the support that they need. But just also, thinking about long-term, how our government can be ready to respond in real time and not wait. It's been a month since this tornado happened, and we need to be able to move quicker to help people. We've got elderly people sleeping outside. We've got folks that are displaced that have pets that can't go into shelters because they often don't take their pets with them. These are people that had full lives before a tornado ripped through, going 150 miles per hour through their neighborhood and taking everything within minutes. And so however we can show up and be compassionate, this team is willing to do that, and I am willing to always create the structure to do that.
Especially because it's a big pivot away from what you were doing before.
Yeah.
So I think it shows just the versatility and the dedication that MOPC has towards making the community around them better.
Yeah, for sure.
My final question is congratulations on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
And as an expecting mother, but also a business owner, there's this expectation that women have to do it all.
Yes.
So I know that this is going to be a crazy part of your life you're going to have to navigate, but a beautiful part.
Yeah.
What do you think the future of MOPC as well as your life looks like right now?
Yeah, the future of MOPC is one where the team is able to do all the things. As I started our conversation today, I have never pretended to do any of this work alone. I'm very grateful to have a strong, confident team that also sees things in a different way and is ready to flag them to me as the person that is, yes, technically in charge, but is always asking for ways that we can be better with our work. We also have different roles here, right? Like, my job is not to only be the person that's out every day knocking doors and talking to people. So I need to hear the perspective of the people that are the folks that are doing that, so I can make sure I'm doing my job. And when I'm advocating for projects or work that we are doing, that I'm asking for the things that the canvassers are going to need, right? I'm asking for gas cards because we want to make sure that our people are taken care of. I hear we need to have snacks and water. Okay, great. We can do that. But I would not be able to have that kind of advice given back to me if I did not create a space where people felt comfortable enough to say those things. And so I think the future of MOPC, I purposely, we did some family planning. I purposely planned to have my child in an off year because that's how people in my business do this. So I look forward to this kid being in some carrier on my back at some rally, and let's do this. I cannot wait to see It's going to be a good time. I look forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Thank you so much for taking your time to interview with me.
Yeah, excited to do it. Excited for you in this role, and anyone out there that is thinking about running for office, if you feel like you are the right person to carry the water for your community and you want to do that in a real way, do it. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. Take your shot.